Hey, aloha, everybody. How's it going? Tom Gaddis here, hunkered down in my home, as I'm sure many of you are. Aloha, Martin. Aloha, Art. Super excited you guys are here. Welcome, everybody. I'm doing a little special kind of live. As you know, my podcast went live today, so I'm super excited about it. So I thought I would jump on and hey, aloha, Jason. Thought we could just chat about whatever you guys want to chat about. The podcast, we can chat about, what's going on with businesses and the current climate, all those things. So super excited to be here. Aloha, Jonathan. Aloha, Mark. Welcome. Man, super excited you guys took time out of your day to join me. If you can let me know too in the comments, like where you're tuning in from, I'd appreciate that as well. Yeah, awesome. I see people are still trickling in. Aloha, Warren, welcome. Yeah, super glad you guys are here. I'm excited. It's been quite a bit of effort and getting things ready to get this podcast live. So I'm really excited that it's finally out there and to move forward with it. So I see Mark's in Annapolis. Welcome, Mark. Warren's in South Pasadena. SoCal Canyon Lake for Jonathan. Got Ken on the line from Canada, Southern Ontario. Awesome. Florida. Jason's in Florida. Wow, how are you guys holding up with everything that's going on? I know here on Maui, last week they closed the non-essential businesses, but then at 12 a.m. tomorrow they're starting the stay-at-home order. I see Michael's here from upstate New York, Heidi from Orlando, Jackson, Florida. Yeah, thank you so much. It says congratulations. I thought about doing a podcast. Yeah, it's been a really interesting experience putting this podcast together. And even though it's taken a lot of stuff to get it going, like the podcast itself hasn't been super hard to put together. Like you don't need much, a microphone, a recording software, things like that. So I see Jonathan's here from Riverside, Jersey Shore, Marvin. Michael's an essential worker. Michael, we appreciate you going to work. That's one of the things I've been trying to make it a point. Every time I have to go someplace like the bank, or I went and got gas, or going to the grocery store, I try to make it a point to tell whoever is there working, thanks for showing up to work, because it's, obviously it's a concerning time and not everybody wants to come to work, so I really appreciate those people in those essential jobs that are still showing up and there to make sure things run. So really appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, let's see. Well, that's a long name there, but it says been a stay-at-home order here in Ventura, California since midnight last Friday. Wow. Yeah. One of the things that I have kind of been really focusing on doing during this time is developing, keeping as much of my routine intact as I can. And, I've had to adjust it obviously a little, right? And in that, on the days that I would normally go to the gym and work out, I still get up and work out and do a home workout. I schedule work time in during the week. Show up in front of my computer, continue to try to, move the needle forward in my business. And I hope you guys are doing the same. And maybe you find yourself, you're not having to go to a job that you normally had to go to every day. So you have this, this free time on your hands. Maybe you don't really have a routine, right? I think this is a really great opportunity to build a new routine and to, again, start to move forward on those things that you want to do maybe in your life, right? Whether that's, start a business, get in shape, now all of a sudden we have those times, right? Awesome. I see Jonathan. Jonathan says we've been helping people that are disabled, helping them get the stuff from the store, trying to do what we can. Jonathan, that is awesome. Congratulations, man. Yeah, Ken, the first episodes are already uploaded and live. So you can go on your favorite podcast player, or if you go on your, what would really help me out, a favor I could ask from you guys is if you can go and subscribe on Apple and leave a review for me. Here, I have a little link here. You can go here to subscribe on iTunes. And if you guys do that, if you subscribe on iTunes and you listen, I'd appreciate it if you could leave me a review. One thing that would be really helpful is if you, before you submit your review, if you could take a little screenshot of it and email it to me at tom@tomgaddis.com. I'd appreciate that. So once you submit it, they disappear, so you can't copy it afterwards. But I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been really amazing here in Maui to see the community kind of come together and all the people that are doing things to, help make what we're going through less stressful, And I know myself and Nick Ponte, my business partner, he's also been doing a lot of stuff to help here. One of the things that we did, obviously, one of my businesses is a local marketing agency, and Nick has a local marketing agency here as well. So we've thought one of the ways we could help was by creating some resources online for people that were looking for things. So one of the things we've really been focusing a lot of attention on is building up a website that lists all of the restaurants that are still open and available for takeout and delivery and things like that. So people have one place they can go. And that's been actually getting a lot of traction. We posted in some Facebook groups here, and a lot of people have been reaching out saying what a great idea it is and submitting businesses and doing things like that. So that's been really awesome to see. I've seen some Facebook groups pop up with resources and things for people to help them get through all this stuff. So, one of the things that this whole situation has really made me grateful for is the technology that we have in today's day and age, with Facebook groups and being able to do online meetings through Zoom and all kinds of things like that. Like, we're really not as isolated as we would have been way back in the day, right? So I've been feeling very grateful for the technology and the things we have, our ability to do stuff like this, like to have a live, to be able to still get good content out there for people. It's been really great. So let's see. Barbara says, "Oh, thanks, Barbara. I'd appreciate that." Yeah. I'm not sure what I was asking there. Let me look at the questions. Hey, Scott Meisner. Good to see you, man. I got to see Scott. Scott came to Maui on a vacation from his kids. Scott has a lot of kids. And so him and his wife come to Maui every once in a while. We get to hang out, have lunch. Super nice guy. Michael says, like the website. Oh, thanks, Michael. Yeah, one of the things that you guys can do, and sorry if there's a little noise in the back. There's some people coming, some essential workers coming to my house today to do a little bit of work. But yeah, one of the things that I set up with the podcast is this. And this is my new website, tomgaddis.com. And it's all based around the podcast right now, right? And so you can click these buttons to listen on Apple, to listen on Spotify. We got the trailer here. We're talking about the season one. There's I think 3 or 4 episodes of season 1 up right now. I'm working on the rest of season 1 and season 2 and season 3. So we have a lot more stuff coming. If you want to get notified of things, you can, put your email address in there as well. A couple of other things that you might want to check out is I also started a blog on the site. And so there's a couple of blog posts up here. One that I think is really relevant now, which is now still a good time to start a business. Crazy, right? Like a lot of people, I think, God, who would think about starting a business right now? But my belief is this is a really great opportunity to start a business, something maybe that you've just had on the side that you haven't had time to do that you can now start to move the needle forward, right? There's some things you can get in place so that as the dust kind of all settles on what's going on right now, you're in a way better position to get moving. So I would encourage you guys to go check that out as well. And also too, I'm going to do, as part of the launch of the podcast, I'm going to do a special training on March 31st. So if you subscribe, another place that you can go to subscribe and get all set up is here. Where is it at? Yeah, here you go. You can go to tomgaddis.com/podcast, and that'll drop you off on this page, which walks you through the steps on how to subscribe through Apple, right? And then you can go down here and you click this button, and it will sign you up for the special training I'm going to do on March 31st. And in that training, I'm going to talk about a lot of different things. One, like why I started this podcast, how I intend to leverage it. We can talk about that a little bit today. How to thrive in a recession, right? How to continue to move the needle forward. The skills that I think are going to be really important to know moving forward. How to turn one idea into multiple revenue streams. That's something that really, if I hadn't been working on that up to this point, I don't think my situation would be a lot worse than it is right now. And we're going to have special prizes and a lot of other stuff. So I would encourage you to head over there, sign up. Again, if you can leave me a review, I'd really appreciate it. And get signed up for the special training as well. So yeah, those are the things we have going on there. And here, let me unshare my screen for a minute. Cool, I'll go back to the comments. So a couple things, let's see. So Mark Williams is asking, do you still do the 9x12s topics for a podcast? So Mark, actually, I talk about the 9x12 in the very first episode. So for those of you that may be new to me, new to what I'm doing, so the way that I actually got started is I started doing a direct mailer here in my area where I had this jumbo postcard that had 7 ads on each side, and I would go around to businesses and I would sell those ad spots for $500 and then mail these jumbo postcards out to all the residents in my area. And that's how I built my digital agency, was doing that, right? That's how I grew my agency. And I still do those. I still do those mailers. I'm not doing one right now, obviously, but I still do them periodically, not as often as I did in the beginning. But then what I did was I used that experience that I got from building that business, from getting clients that way, to start to put together information products showing other people how to do that. And in the process of doing all that, I met Nick. We teamed up to create a company called Offline Sharks. And that company is all about helping other people to start their own like freelancing agency type things. And basically what we do is we help local businesses with their online marketing needs. So there are a lot of local businesses out there that don't really know anything about how to do social media, about how to do search engine optimization. They're using online assets to bring customers in. And so we offer a service to help them do that. And Offline Sharks is our company where we teach other people how we're doing that in our businesses, things that we've tried that have worked. And, as a side thing of that, we've grown this other business, this kind of information product business. So, those are some of the things that I'm going to be sharing on the What's the Secret podcast as the seasons move forward and the episodes come out, is really just kind of how we've done that, right? How we took one thing, which was this idea of doing this mailer, one skill, right? We did it, and then how we leveraged that to, to build an even bigger business and get another business going on with multiple streams of income coming in. And actually, if you go to that episode on the website, here, I'll share my screen again. Let me get that button there. So if you go here in the episode section of the website, you will see, here's all the episodes that are up, right? So here's this this is all about the postcard, how I turned $50, because it cost me less than $50 to get what I needed to start that business, right? And in 7 days, I generated $7,000 in revenue. About 4,000 of that was profit. Pardon me. Something stuck in my throat there. But if you go to these individual episodes, I've got show notes on the episodes. And on this particular one, I actually included a PDF of a finished card. So if you just click on that, you'll see this is what my direct mailer looks like. The Kind Coupons is the name that I did under it, right? And so the United States Post Office has this special program called Every Door Direct Mail, which allows you to mail things like this without actually having people's addresses and do it at a very low cost. So, you know, that's how I was able to only sell these ads for $500 and still make a good amount of profit. You can see those are both sides of the ad, right? So in that first episode, I talk about this, and then I give you that resource for with a finished card, and I also give you a PDF showing the ad sizes. So this is actually what I printed up to start this business. So I put this together, and then I just went down to Office Max and printed this off in a 9x12 double-sided size and had it laminated. And I would just walk into businesses with this and say, hey, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send this mailer out to 10,000 people. Here's the size. And then I filled up all the spots that way. So it's a really great evergreen type of side business. It's, you know, there's really nothing particularly hard about it. In fact, you don't even really have to be a good salesperson to do it, because it's really just a kind of show and sell thing. It's really straightforward. Like, hey, this is the price you pay. This is how many houses we send it out to. We do the ad design, all that stuff. Now, I didn't actually do the ad design or anything that myself. Once I collected a couple of deposits, I hired a designer to do all that stuff for me. I didn't do the printing. I had that done online and shipped to me. The only thing I did was take the finished cards down to the post office. So it's a really great business model to generate cash flow, right? And that's what I used it for. When I started, I had no contacts with business owners here in Kihei, and within a week, I had 16 businesses that had given me money, and I now had a relationship with them. I had made a little bit of money, and I was able to use that to start moving the business forward. So, yeah. So every episode is that way with show notes and things like that. So you might want to check that out as well. Let's see. Let's go here through some other questions, and then let's see. So yeah, the live will be up here if you guys want to watch this later, so you can find it different places. Dorn, if you shoot me an email, shoot me an email, and I'll see if I can help you out there. And yes, I am familiar with Postcard Mania. I've used them for some other client things, not for the 9x12. I use Mid-Michigan mailer and printers to do those. Yeah. Jason says, neat idea. Yeah, it worked like gangbusters, right? Yeah, it worked like gangbusters. Mark said, how often do you mail to one area, and how many repeat advertisers do you seem to get? So, Mark, I was doing them about every 30 to 45 days in the beginning. Now I do try to do them about once every quarter. I usually have about half of the businesses are repeat. So it really works well. And I have a pizza place that's been on every mailing, because they don't do delivery. You have to actually go to their location and pick up pizza. But every time we do a mailer, they get like 300 and something coupons. It's pretty crazy. Some house cleaning companies, electrician, that all do really, really well with it. So they're on just about every card. Michael says, this is really smart, showing them the blanks. Oh, yeah. So, Michael, another thing that I used to do, here's a little pro tip for you guys, if any of you ever decide to do this, is a lot of times the first person on the card is the hardest one to get, right? So what I would do to get around that is I've just bought some stickers from Office Max, and I would write the name of all the businesses that I was going to go visit that day, like 3 or 4 of the businesses that I was going to go visit. And I would just put those stickers on different spots on the card. And then when I walked into the first business, which wasn't one of those four, right? I would just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'd show them the card, and they would see the stickers on there. And so it would look like these businesses were already signed up. I never said they were signed up. I never said those people were going to be on the card. They just assumed that. And so that resistance of being the first person on the card was really cut down. Never lied to anybody, right? So I don't endorse that. But, no one ever asked me. If they had asked, are these people on the card? I'd say, well, not yet, but I'm going to go talk to them later today. But no one ever asked. So that worked like that gangbusters. And yeah, I know Scott, who's on the live right now. He's a teacher and he does a ton of these mailers, and it does really, really well for him. Yeah, Dorn said, do you call, email, walk in? All three, Dorn. So, in the beginning, I was just walking into the businesses. And as I got traction, I actually hired somebody in my local area to be an appointment sitter. So she would call and make appointments for me. And then I would go in and do the appointments. But I also use email quite a bit as well. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a really great business idea that anybody can get started, right? And one of the reasons that I talk about this on the podcast is because I think when we're going to build a business, if you just shoot me an email at tom@tomgaddis.com, I can get you the info for the Mid-Michigan mailers. Yeah, so one of the reasons I talk about this in the podcast is because I had no idea at the time that I started that little business, right? So I had been on unemployment. Let me back up just a little. So I was a restaurant manager here on Maui. I got fired from my job. I'd been on unemployment for a while. I really didn't want to go back to a real job. I wanted to start my own business. I came across this idea of doing these mailers, and I did it, and I had success with it, right? So I had no idea at the time what that was going to turn into. I was just doing these mailers because I needed to make some money, right? And as I started doing the mailers and having some success with it, I realized that there was a group of people out there that were looking to do the same kind of thing, to get a side hustle going, a side business going, that would like something like this, right? There was a market for that. People wanting to know how to do that. A lot of people that have maybe tried to get things like this going and weren't having success. And since I had just a little bit of success with it, I decided to, help those people. And so I put together an information product on how to do it. And I launched that product on a platform called Warrior Plus. And it took off like gangbusters. I sold like 2,000 copies of that product. And now I was in an online business too, right? So I was continuing to grow my agency and get clients. And now I had this information product out there teaching other people how to do it. And I was doing all the things that come along with that, building a list, started a Facebook group where you communicate with people, all that kind of stuff. And so that process though, the reason that I point that process out to you guys is because that's really a winning process for anything. So if you have any kind of skill, hobby, specialized knowledge, just something that you really enjoy doing, that there's a market for, like other people enjoy doing it too, other people would pay for information on that product, you can follow this exact same model of where you use your knowledge, your skill, your current business, and then leverage that to start to offer other ways to provide value, either through online products or holding online events, things like that, things that you could actually charge for and build revenue streams on. And I think in which episode is it that I talk about this? In the podcast, I actually talk about this in the multiple streams of income episode, because I think a lot of people have a real misconception that, to do multiple streams of incomes means that you need to be this real go-getter that has all these businesses going, right? And that hasn't been the case for me. Like, I took one idea and then just built on that idea and just kept growing it out and looking for other ways to create streams of revenue off of that idea. right? And anybody can do that with just about anything that they know. And, in the beginning, like when I put that first product out, I was just on an interview yesterday and the guy asked me like, well, did you feel like you were qualified to talk about this and an expert and you knew everything there was to know about this when you put this product out? And the answer was no. In fact, I had really small success. Like, I had generated $7,000 in revenue, right? But that's not, in the big scheme of things, that's not very much money, like I was still learning the business, still growing the business. Yeah, I was just far enough ahead of those people that hadn't generated any income that they were willing to listen to me. And in fact, I think that was a huge asset because, sometimes when you're out there and you're looking at these people that are super uber successful, it's hard to relate to them, because like, of course they can do these things. They're super successful, right? And it's hard to relate. People really want somebody who they can relate to, somebody who's just an ordinary person like they are, who's able to do something, and how did they do it? And that is exactly what I was. And I am. I'm just an ordinary guy, right? Like I had some success with this and I shared my success. And that's actually why I subtitled the podcast, What the Gurus Won't Tell You About Making 7 Figures Online, because, I'm not a guru. I'm just a guy, right? And I think a lot of times the gurus kind of take for granted that we're going to do certain things, and that wasn't true for me, right? Like this whole thing of becoming an entrepreneur has been a process. Like I've had to change a lot of my behaviors. I've had to grow as a person to be able to do the things that I do. And I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. They think either you're born to do this or you're not born to do this. I was not born to do this. Like it has been a process of continuing to put in effort, to learn, to study my failures. I actually have an episode of the podcast called Never Let Failure Go to Your Head, which is one of my favorite sayings, because everybody always says, never let success go to your head. I say, never let failure go to your head, because the more you can fail and continue to learn from that and overcome it, I think the more successful you're going to be, because eventually, you're gonna hit something. And it's kind of like what Mark Cuban. I love Mark Cuban had a saying where he said, "I don't really care how many times I fail because I only need to be right once." And that has been very true in my experience. Like there's lots of things that haven't worked out for me, lots of things I've failed at, but one thing and not all of a sudden you're off to the races. So here, let me see. I know I got off on a little bit of a tangent there. Well, let me take a drink of tea. Let's see. Dorn says, got it. My wife's been doing the appointment setting. I'll transfer that duty today. Nice, John. Victor says, do you do these cards by zip code area? So Victor, no, the way the Every Door direct mail program works, and also again in the show notes, there's a link to this. Pardon me, I don't know, my throat's so scratchy. So also at Every Door direct mail is what I use to mail them, right? And so it's actually based on routes. So they have a special online interface that you go into and you can put in a zip code, and then you select the routes that you want the cards to go to. And then they take them to those routes. So you don't need to know anybody, you don't need to know anybody's actual address or anything like that. Yeah, and by the way, if you guys have any questions about anything like the podcast, about starting an agency or starting an online business, I'm here to just share with you guys. So hit me up. I'll answer any questions you have. Let's see. Brahm says, what's the best course from Offline Sharks? Brahm, I think that depends on what your interest is and what you're looking to do. So there are a couple of good things on there. In the current environment, and since we don't really know how things are going to change once all of this is over, we do have a course called Remote Client Systems. And the reason I think that course is really relevant today is because it's all about how to prospect from your home remotely. So We show you a technique using a free software that allows you to record video of yourself or your screen, and how you can leverage that technology to identify businesses that need your help and then send them these little videos to bring them on as clients. And that's really, really, I think really important today. So, remote client system is a really good thing to do. The big thing about running an agency is getting clients, right? So you'll see a lot of our products and courses are about how to get clients. And then whatever method we're using to reach out to the clients, we usually give you training on how to do that stuff. We have one called Site Speed Profits that's also really good. It's all about, we give you like a special software that shows you how to identify websites that are loading slow. And then we use that as a foot in the door to sell those website owners various services, optimizing their site or redoing their site, things like that. So let's see. And I think another one that's really good for right now is our agency growth machine. That's what we're using to set up the restaurant resource site, right? So that course is all about what we call influencer sites. And they're these community resource sites that you set up to help your community, where you can list businesses and provide information and stuff like that. That's really something you can build a big brand around online. And so that's a good one too. Jacqueline says, I agree, Tom. Gurus who drop zeros, though it means nothing, don't know how the rest of us need the budget. Yeah, I totally agree, Jacqueline. Mark Williams says, as Bob Ross says, not Jake, is there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. That's right, Mark. Yeah, and so Jake is actually the guy who I got the idea for the postcards from, and he goes by the screen name Bob Ross on Warrior Plus. And actually, Mark, that's an interesting story about that too, because I learned that postcard thing from Jake, and so when I put my course together, I reached out to him because I thought, I wanted to check with him. I didn't just want to put it out since I got the idea from him. And I was a little worried that he was going to say like, no, you can't do that. Like, I'd rather you not do that. This is my thing. And, pleasantly to my surprise, Jake was a super nice guy about it. And he actually promoted that product for me when, I didn't have any track record or anything. He was like, yeah, man, I'll promote it to my people. And he became one of my number one sellers of that product, and other people came on because of him. And the reason I tell you guys that is because if you're somebody who's looking to produce a product online or to put something out like that, it's still all about relationships, right? And so one of the things I did when I was, early on is I would buy products and I would try to implement what was in the product. And if I had questions, I would email the people that created the products and ask them questions about, well, how do I do this? Or I tried this and it didn't work. Do you have another suggestion? Or could you help me with this part? I'm not quite getting it. And it turns out like those relationships paid off when I went to put out my own product, because those people like Jake and Bruce New Media, they knew me. And so they were like, yeah, you seem like a guy's taking action. Like we're more than happy to support you. And so remember, every communication that you have with someone is a relationship building communication, right? So you always want to make sure that when you're interacting with people, that you're doing it in a professional way, and that you're always bringing good things to that relationship, right? That way, because you never know, down the road you may want to call on them for help, and if you've been emailing them about their courses and a jerk about it, like their chances of wanting to help you are pretty slim. Ken, I didn't get your messenger message. I didn't get that. I'll take a look at that message though, Ken, and I'll do that. Let's see. Michael says, do you offer coaching on how to market on Warrior Plus? So Michael, I don't have, any set coach. Honestly, really the reason I'm talking about this stuff now is really kind of the current situation that's going on, because, a lot of people, friends of mine, people that I know have reached out to me and been like, hey, Tom, we know that you somehow have a business online. They don't really know what I do, right? But they're like, we know you somehow have a business online. Like, how are you doing that? And, I really haven't had a venue or a way to talk about that kind of stuff. Cause like at Offline Sharks, obviously we talk a lot about the agency side of things and that part of our business and how we grow that. And we haven't really done anything to talk about the other stuff. And so this What's the Secret podcast is really kind of my first, venture out into being able to talk more about those kinds of things, how we've grown the online side of that business, the things we do, the strategies we implement and stuff like that. One of the things I would say is, so my original plan for What's the Secret was to do it in seasons. And so season 1 was all about getting started. And so you're going to see in season 1, a lot of the episodes are about mindset and different things like that. And that was on purpose because it's really important that we have those things together before we start moving. And as we go into the rest of season 1 and season 2 and beyond, we're going to start talking about more specific tactics, strategies, things that I'm using and stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, Michael, you can always, reach out to me too at tom@tomgaddis.com. And if you have any questions about Warrior Plus or anything like that. So he says, you have a product. I've sold on Warrior Plus before. Yeah, I can give you some suggestions. I mean, obviously building those affiliate relationships, those joint venture partner relationships with other people that can promote your product. Not sure what niche your product's in, but that's a really great place to start. Hey, aloha, Ron. Good morning. So you guys, Ron is one of our members in Offline Sharks, and he's in the Philippines. He retired there. Yeah, doing the path to 6 figures is really good too. Let's see. Jacqueline says failure is a real kick in the self-esteem, though. Jacqueline, you're not you're preaching to the choir here. I know it can be very hard to get past that stuff. Some of the things that I've had to do to work past that is, you kind of have to develop a thick skin as an entrepreneur. And some of the things I use for that are trying to not dwell, like when negative things happen, not dwelling on them, focusing on myself, like doing some meditation in the morning, I exercise, spending time with my family, all those things like that are things that I've used to combat that and try to keep a level head and keep going. Yeah, and by the way, for anybody who's new on the live or maybe you came in a little later, one of the things I mentioned in the beginning is if you guys could do me a favor, this would really help me out. Oh, keep hitting my microphone. This would really help me out if you could go over to Apple, subscribe to the podcast, and then leave a review. One thing, if you could, before you submit your review, if you could take a screenshot of it and email it to me at tom@tomgaddis.com, I'd appreciate it. But if you could go over and do that, I'd really, really appreciate that. Awesome. Let's see. And then if you want to sign up for, we're also going to do a special live training on March 31st. So if you want to sign up for that, you can go do that over here at tomgaddis.com/podcast. And it's tomgaddis.com Apple to subscribe at Apple. You can subscribe here though too. So awesome. Let's see. Let me go back here. So Jacqueline said it's easy to let it derail your purpose. Knowing that others fail too and then pick themselves up and go on to succeed is very, very valuable. Totally agree, Jacqueline. She says, I would not have any success without knowing you guys because failure would have had me doubting myself and I would have given up. Jacqueline, we've all been there. And I know, sometimes I get over failure faster than others. Like sometimes I'm able to just, let it just go right off my shoulders and I just keep moving forward. Other times it like lingers and, I'm stuck with it for days or weeks. The thing is, for me, is when I feel those feelings is to continue to take the actions I know I need to be taking. What I used to do in the beginning is when I would get that self-doubt and I would get all those feelings that would come up inside, I would stop. I would stop taking action, and that was a big problem for me. I had to really work to get over that. So no matter how I, no matter how I feel about what I'm doing or whether I think it's going to be successful or not successful, I still have that work time scheduled and I show up and I do the work, right? Regardless of how I feel. And that has been one of the bigger shifts for me. Let's see. Let me take a look here. Let's see, Jim. What is the free software you use to record the videos? So Jim, we use Loom. Loom, it's a Chrome extension. That's what we use. Glenn says, how are you parlaying the restaurant list with AGM? So Glenn, that's a great question. And I think it brings up a really good point of just marketing and selling things in general, especially now in the current environment we're in, right? One of the things Nick and our team, we spent every day talking to our team about how we're going to adjust to this and what we're going to do moving forward and what we feel like we should be doing moving forward, right? And one of the things that we all agree on is that, right now is really a time to be building an audience and to be helping out in any way that we can, right? So we've kind of put that idea of, how are we going to make money from this on the back burner, right? Now, obviously, if clients come to us and they need help or they want us to help them, which clients are still doing that, not as many as before, but, some here and there. If they come to us, obviously, we're still available to offer our services and to get paid for them and all that stuff. But we're also looking at this time as an opportunity to build relationships like I talked about before. So one of the things we're doing is we set up an agency growth machine website. It's called wedelivermaui.com. And we just started adding the restaurants that are available for takeout and delivery. And then we started just getting the word out about it. We have really no kind of way specifically that we're going to make money from that site. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to provide an asset, but we're also we're building a list, right? Every time a business is added to that website, we now have that business on our list. And so once we kind of get past this time, we feel like we can go back and start to reach out to that list and talk to them about the services that we could offer restaurants to help them grow. And that is going to be very valuable, right? So one of the things that a lot of direct marketers will tell you is that the money's in the list, and that is very true. So anything you can do to start building a list or building an audience today is going to be valuable down the road. You may not make money from it right now. You may not make money from it next week. You may not make money from it next month. But if you continue to build a list and build an audience, you will eventually be able to monetize that, because there's no shortage of things to offer people. But there are a shortage of people that have the audiences in the list, right? This podcast is just another way for me to build a list by bringing value, right? I can share information. I can build an audience. I can build a community. The agency growth machine with adding the restaurants there is the same way. Some other things that people could do today, right now, with what's going on to start building an audience and grow a list is you could start a Facebook group around a skill or topic that you're interested in. Before I released my first product on Warrior Plus, the one way that I did, the one thing that I did was I had been sick for a few days, and I had always wanted to start a Facebook group. So I started this Facebook group. It's not around anymore. I didn't get very far with it, but because I eventually started launching products on Warrior Plus. But I started this Facebook group, and I put it out on my personal Facebook feed, like, hey, I'm starting this group about entrepreneurship. I'd love for you to come over and join it. We're going to talk about what's called Entrepreneur Empire. And we're going to talk about building a business. I'm going to share some things. And I got like 50 people in that Facebook group. And as soon as I had 50 people in there, I said, look, I'm going to do a live training next week on how I'm doing this postcard thing in my area. And this is what I've been able to do. I've been, it didn't cost me very much to start. I generated, $7,000 in 7 days. I'm going to share with you how I did that. I'm going to give you the templates. and I charged $150 for the training, and I sold 3, right? So that was kind of my first success with the product side of things. But it was surprisingly easy to do that. And that's something anybody could do, right? You could, again, the thing right now is to start building the audience, right? People are at home, they're looking for things to do. They have interests, they have hobbies, they have things that they would want to be a part of a group on. So you could be the person that starts that group and gets that group going. And again, not worrying about how you're going to make money from it. I mean, obviously, I think if your ultimate goal is to make money, then you want to start something around a topic that you can make money from, right? So maybe if you have an idea or a hobby that you do, you really want to do a little bit of looking into it in the beginning to see like, okay, well, are other people interested in this? And are they willing to spend money to learn about it? And one of the ways you can do that is by going on Amazon.com and like looking at the magazines, like if there's a magazine for it, if there's other websites out there of people that are selling information on the thing that you are interested in, those are all good signs, right? I know it's kind of counterintuitive because a lot of people think you want to get into a market where there's nobody else, and that is not true. You want to be in a market where people are already making money, because if people are already making money in that market, then there's a good chance you're going to be able to go in and get some of that money to flow towards you. Yeah, let's see. So that was Glenn's question. Jim says, Tom, what's the general feedback you're getting on what business owners are doing in this lockdown environment? So Jim, one of the things that's a great question too, by the way, Jim. So, we've seen different people reacting in different ways. So some businesses are just reacting in fear, right? They don't even know what to do, where to start. Like they're just in total lockdown mode. Other businesses have really been looking at this as kind of like an opportunity. Like they realize that their competitors aren't going to be doing much during this time. And so they're taking this opportunity to continue to push, to continue to get out right now. Obviously, not every business can do that because a lot of businesses have been ordered closed, right? So, but some of the businesses like plumbers, electricians, childcare, things like that, they're still out there and they see this as an opportunity to grow their market share, right? The other thing I think from what we're kind of getting from business owners is this realization that all of this online stuff that maybe they weren't interested in before has now all of a sudden become extremely valuable. And what I mean by that is businesses that were doing what all businesses should be doing, which is not relying on one particular way to drive business to get customers. And what I mean by that is like, some businesses, they don't advertise, they don't do anything, right? People just show up at their business. Maybe they just use word of mouth, whatever. That's all great when things are going really, really well. But when things really come to crunch time like they are now, it's the businesses that were spending that time, developing a good website that customers could interact with and get the information they needed. Businesses that were building an email list that have an easy way to now communicate with their customers about what's going on, or even to propose alternate ways for them to do business. Businesses that were investing in their social media presence. Again, multiple ways to communicate with customers. So now they're able to easily tell customers what are going on, and then how these businesses are going to adjust to maybe work remotely, right? So like a CPA could do everything that they do remotely. They don't actually have to have clients physically come to their location. So those people right now are probably very interested, or would be very interested in finding out how they could do that. How do they set up an online meeting? How do they, do all the email communication? How could they do all of that stuff online? So I think those things, those skill sets are going to be extremely valuable. People that know how to do those things, that know how to set up good websites, that know how to set up online bookings, that know how to allow, maybe a business didn't have anything for sale on their website, but maybe there's stuff they could be selling on their website right now. Like those are all things that I think a lot of business owners really just got kind of their eyes open that like, uh-oh, there's this big hole in my business and it didn't have to be there. Like I can fix that. So yeah, we've seen all of them, Jim. We've seen people going both ways. Hey, aloha, Tammy from Orlando. Hey, Jeremy. Super excited you're here. Raymond says, what software are you using to record your podcast? So Raymond, I'm using Adobe Audition. There's also a free software called Audacity that a lot of podcasters use. I just went ahead and got Adobe Audition. But actually, if you were looking to start a podcast right now, Adobe announced that they are giving any business that reaches out to them can get 60 days of the Adobe Creative Cloud for free. So you could go on to, I think if you go to Lifehacker or you just Google Adobe 60-day deal, you can find the link to it. But so that means right now you could get a Adobe Audition for free for 60 days. So you wouldn't even need to pay for it. I mean, that's a really great deal. So I'm using Adobe Audition for my microphone. This microphone that I'm using here is what's called the Rode Podcaster. It's the USB version. So I'm using this. But again, there is also a microphone out there called I think it's called the ATT or ATAT 2020. It's like $19.99 on Amazon, and it is a super really good mic. It sounds really great. It's USB. So, you don't have to get something like this. You can use that microphone and your podcast would sound really good. And even Audacity is a really good software as well. Hey, aloha, Alan. Man, I miss you, buddy. Alan is my college football buddy. Now, he's a Clemson fan, so, we don't really hold that against him. But Alan used to live here on Maui. I'm a big Oklahoma Sooners fan. So we used to get together at my house every Saturday, watch college football, hang out, give each other crap about our teams. It was awesome. Miss you, Alan. Let's see. Somebody just asked if I'm familiar with Podcast Magazine, and I'm not. I will check that out. I think I got lost here in my questions. Hold on. So Martin, the podcast is on Apple, it's on Spotify. There's a lot of places. So if you go to that link, offlinesharks.com/podcast, you can sign up or go to my website, tomgaddis.com. There's a link on here. If you're looking for a specific player, there's a link that says subscribe to WTS podcast. You can click that and it'll open up a bunch of different players that you can pick from, but you can find it on pretty much any of your regular players. So yeah, Gabriel, I'm not familiar with Podcast Magazine. I'm gonna have to check that out. Let's see. Ken says, Ken, you cannot leave a review from Android. Let me look. I had some specific thing here. You can still listen on Andrew, right? But the best place to go is Spotify. Maybe you can leave a review on Spotify. So, and for that question about what platforms we're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcast, Listen Notes, TuneIn. Those are the big ones, but we're on a lot of other ones as well. So yeah, Raymond says, I wish I would just start my business already. Raymond, do it. Just do it. I know that's the Nike slogan, but that is so true. Just do it. I mean, when I started that mailer thing and I actually had some success, I got all into this thing about how it's all about taking action. Because for so long I didn't take any action. Like I told everybody I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I told everybody I wanted to have my own business, yet my behaviors and my actions didn't match up with that. I spent a lot of time getting ready to get ready, sharpening my pencil, but never taking that next step that was going to, bring in revenue, or that step that I was afraid of. I spent all this time avoiding that. It wasn't until and it really wasn't until I started pushing through that fear and moving forward that I started to have any type of success. Mark, no, I think there's a place to leave a review, not the comments. Let's see. Adil says, how to talk to prospects and tell them that we want just to help right now in the email. Adil, I think you just be honest and upfront, man. You just say, hey, look, I'm reaching out to you because I know things are a struggle right now. Things are tight. I'd like to, schedule a call with you to see if there's any way that I can help you get through this, come through this on the other side. One thing, Adil, though, is, one approach that we're taking is delaying payment, right? Like offering to help the business and just say, like, look, I'm willing to help you out right now, and we can delay the payment for 30 or 60 days. That approach, I think not only is it really just the right thing to do, you want to help people out, works. Oh, okay, Ken, I will do that. The offline Sharks messages, I'll set it in there. Yeah, I haven't logged into the site today, so. And Adil, so we're reaching out via phone. That was how Nick was doing that. I think in the Offline Sharks Facebook group, Nick actually posted a video of him doing some prospecting on that. You might want to go check that out. So Roy, if you don't use Apple, you can listen on Spotify. There's other places too. Let's see. Yep, Michael, that's a good idea. Get that done, right? Get it done. Jacqueline says, I'm building an email list right now. I have 2 people on it so far. That's the start, Jacqueline, right? Like another thing I notice with people is we get so wrapped up in the big results, right? That most people forget to set goals to hit the little results. And what I mean by that is, like, in our Offline Sharks business, we get a lot of people who want to start an agency, right? And they always have a lot of questions about, how do I handle my business when I get 100 clients? Like, what happens when I have 50 clients? Or if I'm doing 6 figures a year, like, how do I get my business all together? And it's like, one of the things that we try to tell those people is, like, look, that's a great goal to have, okay? But we need to not worry about how we're going to handle 100 clients when we don't even have 1 client. So our first goal should be to get 1 client. Let's get 1 client. Then let's get 2 clients. And then let's get 5 clients. And when we have 5 clients, then we can worry about how we're going to handle like, the thing is, though, solving those problems that you're kind of future pacing yourself to have is easier when you have cash flow coming in. It's very hard to solve those problems when you don't. So if you're trying to do an online business, the same thing. You think, what software do I need if I'm going to do if I'm going to have a really big business, I'm going to sell a lot of products. Like, we need to back up. Let's put out 1 product. Let's get 1 product off the ground. Let's get some cash flow coming in. Once you have some cash flow coming in, then you can use that cash flow to solve those problems, right? Like, I know in our businesses, that's how it's worked. Like, we get the first client in our agency, we get the first client, we get the second client, we get the third client. By the time we're getting 10 clients, we're like, man, we need to do something to systemize this, to ease up our workload. But now we have cash flow, so we can easily solve those problems, right? In the product side of the business, it's the same thing. We put out 1 product. We did all the work ourselves, right? We put out another product, all the work ourselves, product after product, doing all the work ourselves, handling all the support ourselves, doing all that stuff. Then we're like, wait a minute, this is getting to be too much. We need to bring people in to help us with this. But again, we had cash flow, so we were able to do that. So it's really great to have those big goals, and you need those big goals, but really work your way really, really, really far back so that you have an attainable goal, and then get that goal accomplished. So, if your thing is building an agency, just focus on getting 1 client if you don't have any. If your goal is to put out a product or to build an email list, just focus on getting 1 person on your list, then get 2 people on your list, then get 3 people on your list. Like, there's really no other way to do it but to just do it, right? And to keep moving forward. Yeah, here's the, oh, there, they put the Spotify in their link for you, where it says thank. Jacqueline says lots of businesses are going to be asking the government for help. There will be lots of need for skilled tax accountants in the next year. Taxes won't be normal for a while. Totally agree, Jacqueline, yeah. And that's one thing to really keep an eye on, right? Is to look around and see like what businesses are really going to be in need, like pay attention to what's going on out there, right, in the market, and what businesses you see that are thriving and what businesses are struggling and all that kind of stuff. A big part of this. Gabriel's, let's see. Martin says, thank you, Tom. I found your Tuesday. You're welcome, Martin. There's only there's only 4 episodes of season 1 out right now. I'm actually getting ready to record a couple more episodes for season 1, and then we're going to move into season 2. You'll want to check that out, though. The episode that I'm recording right now is called How to Reinvent Yourself for Success, Even in a Crisis. So, this is another lesson in entrepreneurship is, so I was working on putting this podcast together before this whole, COVID-19 thing came around. And I had everything mapped out. I had all these episodes I was going to do all through the first 2 seasons. And I had even recorded the first 2 episodes. And then COVID-19 and, everything changed. And it very quickly became apparent to me that if I continued to record the episodes that I had set up, I was going to sound very out of touch, right? So I had to scratch the episodes I had and rework the episodes that I was putting out to fit more in with what's going on right now. One, because that's the right thing to do so people can get through what's happening, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, it's really important that we're aware of what's going on out there in the world, even if it's not a major crisis. It's super important for you to pay attention to just what's going on in the world in general so that you can adjust your approach, your marketing, and pivot and be relevant to what's going on so that you're, again, bringing value and doing those things. Michael said I sound like Tony Robbins. Uh-oh. No, Michael. It is funny, Michael. Like as I mentioned about how when I first had success with the postcard thing, I was all about action, action, action. It's all about taking action. As I've continued to take action and things have continued to grow, my perspective has kind of started to shift, and I've started to appreciate how important the mindset aspect of things are, So it's becoming more clear to me, like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of mindset and behavior things that need to be in place if you're really going to be successful, right? So yeah, sorry if I sound like Tony Robbins, but that's something that's just been an evolvement, something that's evolved in my, in my journey through this process, right? Like the first big breakthrough for me was figuring out that, it's all about taking action. Like if I just take action and I fail and I adjust and I keep taking action, I'm going to be okay. And I operated just on that for a while. But now as I've kind of, I guess, mature and grow up in entrepreneurship, I start to really appreciate the value of the mindset and having those things in place so that you can do those things. And yes, it is still about action, right? Like mindset, goals, all that stuff. Talk is cheap. You got to do those things, and then you got to take action. So it's always about action, but it's just how you think about that action and look at that action, I think, is what determines whether you're able to actually make a behavior change or not. Martin says, do you only use Loom? Yes, Martin, that's all I use is the Loom Chrome extension. I think they may have extensions for other browsers too. Jim says, how would you transition after presenting your offer to asking and getting payment from a client? Jim, I'm not really sure exactly what you're talking about there. Do you mean like, in the current environment, I don't know, like, there's different services, we do different things. So that's kind of an open-ended question. I'm not really sure exactly how to answer that. Jonathan says, what would you do to build an email list? What would you offer to have them join your list? So Jonathan, there's a couple things you can do. One is you could always start with a Facebook group and then drive people to a page to join your email list, right? That would be one asset you could create that you could start bringing people in and then say, hey, if you guys want to get updates on what's going on in the group, just go ahead and put your email in here and I'll send you updates on what's going on in the group and more information. You can do that. Other things that you could use are like any type of little report. Case studies are really great. So if you're in a business or have a skill where you've actually done it and you can put together a little case study of the results you get. Case studies make great giveaways to build an email list or checklists, even templates, right? Like if you're a graphic designer and you're looking to attract other graphic designers, maybe there's some templates you could give away that they would be interested in. Things like that are really good. Yeah, Victor, I think Nick's working on that stuff. Oh, thanks, Warren. I appreciate that. Awesome. Well, I know we're we're a little past the hour here. If you guys have any last minute questions, I'm going to go through these ones that are here. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but I really do appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. And let me see. Let me get through these last questions here. So Warren said, Jacqueline said better. Oh, thanks, Jacqueline. You're so sweet. Ken says the psychology is a huge element. Absolutely, Ken. Jim says, what type of services are you currently promoting in this environment? So Jim, right now we're kind of focusing on restaurants because they're getting hit really hard, right? So, one of the things we're doing to bring value and to just try to help out is what I talked about with this site. Here, I'll pull this site up for you guys so you can take a quick look at it. Here, let me share my screen. Let me open a new one. So it's wedelivermaui.com. So this is the site that we're in the process of building and asking people to submit businesses to, right? You can see we're getting a lot of listings on here. You can see, again, we're also growing a messenger marketing list here, right? So anyone who comes here, they can claim their free listing. So we're practicing we're practicing what we preach, right? We're actually doing these things in our businesses that I'm talking about. So look at all these listings that are showing up on this site, right? So what we're doing for this is how we're bringing some value and we're building a list, right? We do have some services that we can offer these restaurants to help them generate more takeout and delivery business, mainly through helping them get the word out on social media, like some pre-designed social media elements that we have that we can use to help them market. So that's how we're going to transition that into this. But we're not trying to be super aggressive about that. Like, first, let's get some value out there, help people, let's build a list, and then we can start kind of reaching out to people to help them out. Some other services that I think would be good to focus on is our email marketing, right? Obviously, social media, those types of things. I did have someone reach out to me yesterday about securing their website, because I guess their website didn't get a lot of traffic before this, and now it's getting a ton of traffic. And every time somebody comes to the website, they get this warning from Google saying that the site's not secure, and they were worried their site's been hacked. So that's another issue that a lot of business owners are going to be made aware of, because Google does do that warning if you don't have an SSL certificate. And so that's another service that could be good to be reaching out to businesses that don't have their websites SSL secured and offering to fix it for them, even offering to fix it and delay payment, just so they have something that looks secure and that like they're like a legitimate business and not a scam. Because anybody that comes to that website and sees that warning has to question whether they don't even want to go through to your site, right? Because they don't even know whether you're a legitimate business. So we actually have a course on Offline Sharks called SSL Sniper, where we talk about how we were using SSL before all this happened to generate clients. And we have a software that helps you identify websites that aren't secure and email them. And then we show you how to fix it. And we even give you the outsourcer that we use to fix it. We don't do the work ourselves. So Those services, I think, Jim, are good. Jonathan says email versus Facebook Messenger. Jonathan, I think email is always my go-to thing. Like that's always the first list I want to build, the first thing I want to get up. And here's the problem with things like Facebook Messenger is they're always changing the rules. They're always changing the guidelines. And, so, we're going through this right now with Facebook Messenger. Like Facebook Messenger was a really killer marketing tool for us in our business. And then Facebook Messenger changed how you could use it. And all of a sudden, it's not as effective. So you, again, just like not having one way to, you don't want to be stuck in one thing. So you want to be doing multiple things. You want to have multiple ways to reach your customer. So you want to have an email list. You want to have a Facebook Messenger list. You want to have some way to reach out to them in other ways on social media. Like any way that you can building up an audience on YouTube, starting a podcast, any way that you can build an audience to continue to get your message out, you want to do as many of those things as you can. You don't ever want to rely on one thing, because if that one thing gets taken away, you're stuck. So I don't ever really look at it as a question of what's better than what. At certain points, some things are more effective than others. My experience so far has been email marketing is always effective, regardless of what's going on. Thanks, Lori. I appreciate that. John, I'm not giving away logos. Thanks, Raymond. I appreciate that. So, Fran, the We Deliver Maui is strictly online. We're not doing any coupon or mailers yet. Not saying we won't, but right now it's strictly online. Warren says, speaking of non-secured websites, I've seen quite a few that don't have SSLs where the Google warning does not pop up. Any idea why that's the case? Warren, I don't know why, I don't know why that is. I see that too. I've had sites where it never popped up, then all of a sudden it started popping up. So yeah, I'm not really sure why Google does that. So, well, look, guys, that's all the questions. I got through everything. Man, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Those were great questions. I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate all your support with the launch of the podcast and the things I have going on. Again, if you could head over, subscribe through Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. If you have the ability to take a screenshot of it before you submit it, and then email me that screenshot at tom@tomgaddis.com. I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, feel free to email me, reach out to me. I'll see all of our Sharks and the offline Sharks groups and things like that. I also have a Tom Gaddis page set up. So if you could go over like that, I'll be posting updates and things like that on that page. You can actually get there by just going to this link here. I'll throw this in the comments real quick. You can go to, hold on one second. Putting it in the chat. You can go to this link, and if you can go to that link, and if you go to that link, you can like my page. I'd appreciate that because I'll be posting some things on there. Where'd it go? There it is. It's just facebook.com/TomGBiz. And like the page, I'm going to be posting content and stuff like that on there as well. So again, thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. Really appreciate you taking your time to be here. And I'll see you guys in the Facebook group. Stay safe. Practice aloha. Talk to everybody later.